YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after the divisional round in the NFL playoffs. I'm here to give you my takeaways on all four games here and what to expect from these teams going forward. We do this video every week. We'll have the power rankings of the remaining teams, plus teams that just got eliminated. We got free agency videos coming, Deshaun Watson videos coming, NFL draft coverage. We got you covered with everything NFL. So please subscribe if you're new. We much appreciated. Smash that like button. Check us out on Twitter. It's a must follow. Links in the description in the comments for anything that you may need, including that Sided app where we post polls and you guys can debate things and win Amazon gift cards. Pretty cool. Check it out. Link down below. If you're not following that Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. Make a Twitter at GoatHouseNFL. Follow it. There's a link down below. Retweeting breaking news, talking breaking news. We got polls for players of the week. You guys are voting for that. You guys are voting for who's going to win each game. So that's coming up for this championship weekend. Brandon Staley got hired as the Rams head coach yesterday, and I kind of talked about how that's going to work out and how it's pretty interesting, pretty intriguing. So, I mean, this is instant talk about the NFL here, so check it out. That'd be much appreciated. Let's talk about the Packers. I'd say dominating performance, really. I mean, you're going against the best defense in football, or so we thought. I think it's fair to say so, but other teams got very good defenses as well. The Packers putting up 32 points, the Rams scoring 18. I mean, just you score 32 points in the Rams defense, you're going to win, period. The crazy thing is, Rodgers actually, he played great. Rodgers actually missed some throws in this game that he normally would make, and that would result in even more of a win. So it's almost like a positive. I'm not really worried about it. If he hits those throws, they're even better. I think what doesn't get enough credit is the Packers pass rush. It felt like they got the pressure. No, it's mainly the sacks. I think that's where, pressure is kind of, it's almost at the point where it's overrated a little bit, especially in the playoffs. It used to be back in the day, not too long ago, people would just base everything off sacks. Like, okay, this guy's the best pass rusher because he gets this many sacks, and that was wrong. And then the pressure numbers came along, and that definitely helped. But now I think we're at the point where who gets the most pressures, that's the key to victory. That's big time, which team, which players get the most pressures. But I think it's getting out of control at this point. Like, you have to get to the quarterback. When you get pressure, if you create a hurry and a bad decision from the quarterback, that's fantastic. But I think at this stage of the playoffs, when you get pressure, finish the plays, getting to the actual quarterback could be the difference. And the Packers' defense and pass rush, their front deserves a lot of credit because when they got that pressure, they finished the plays and got Goff to the ground or hit him at least. And that was huge. It felt like they were getting those plays at the right moments, forcing third and long, to end the game as well. So Rashawn Gary actually stepped up. That was good to see. Zadarius Smith was a disruptor. Kenny Clark played a really good game. I was kind of talking about that going into the playoffs. Kenny Clark, who I view as probably the best nose tackle in football in general. Going into this year, he missed a few games early, was playing hurt. And then when he came back, he really couldn't get into his groove there, and he wasn't playing all that great. But we knew it was kind of coming. I kind of talked about that. And you see a game like this where he's disrupting the run, stopping the run, getting pressure, getting after the quarterback. So big-time game from him. Jair Alexander was locked down, so that was fantastic. Really wasn't giving up anything. And then we know how the Packers offense, how they play. The best sign here, the best look is the Packers' ability to be, I guess, versatile, flexible, be able to change things up, have a wide variety of plays in your playbook or style of plays. Because they're kind of adding more that we haven't really seen. They watched the Rams on tape. They prepared for this game, this great defense. They're like, we're going to have to run some more pre-snap motion, get the ball out quicker, more than we normally do. And they did that. They averaged about 51 or not average, I think on the season of all of their plays, 51% included pre-snap motion, which is actually kind of high. Coincidence that the Rams are towards the top of the NFL as well. But the Packers ended up running over 71% of their plays had pre-snap motion in the red zone. I think it was like 88 or something. So the ability to kind of go, do a little more of that, do something a little different, go outside the box a little bit just because that matches up well against the Rams. And that is how you win championships, really, being able to adjust and win the matchup just by changing things and making it unexpected for the Rams. So the Rams defense didn't really play that great of a game. They, Packers are playing more physical. You know, their running back trio, their offensive line. Elgin Jenkins had a really good game. That's a player that doesn't give enough credit. You know, we rank players, you know, by position. That's a tough one to rank by position. That's a guy. I do a top 100 list at the end of every season. That's a guy for like a list like that, you know, where it doesn't matter about, you know, position, just top 100 players, because he's played multiple positions. But in a game like this, where he kind of just dominated Aaron Donald. I know Aaron Donald wasn't 100%, but Jenkins that guy's impressive, what he's able to do. So he deserves some credit. Devontae Adams made plays when he needed to. Lazard had a bad drop, but then after that he made plays when he needed to. Offensive line played great without Bakhtiari. You know, we thought, you know, we've seen the teams that blitz effectively or had pretty good pass rushes, you know, Bucks, Panthers, oddly enough, you know, those teams were able to get, you know, I guess create some problems of the lack of offense of the Packers because of that. So we thought maybe the Rams could do that. And so the Packers offensive line kind of took that away. Rodgers' footwork was next level, though. I mean, not really a surprise. And when they did get pressure, he kind of beat it with his footwork. And you see why people talk about footwork for the quarterback so much, because you could actually, by proper footwork, you know, sometimes actually can be better than just a faster quarterback in general. You know, some people would think just a faster quarterback can just move, and sometimes that works, but the footwork can really sell things and throw pass rush off. So, that was key for Rodgers. But, yeah, they were just more physical. It felt faster, tempo. I mean, I've been calling for more tempo for NFL teams. When you watch college teams do it, you know, the teams of the Big 12, you know, Oklahoma, you know, the SEC teams now, they'll just get on the ball and go. And why does it work? Is because defenses can't keep up. Defense can't get aligned. You know, defense is a guessing game, and you know, you watch tape and see how offenses line up, and that's how you kind of guess and how you can, you know, win perhaps. But when they go high tempo, I mean, you can't. It's near impossible to keep up, you know. So when the Rams did score, they were able to get in that groove and go tempo. The Rams actually moved the ball, I'd say, a little better than maybe how many points they scored. I thought, you know, how effectively they moved the ball once they got going. I suppose, again, the Packers defense stepped up when they needed to. But they were able to run the ball. Cam Akers played well. Goff played pretty well, you know, hitting tight windows, hitting open receivers, you know, making the plays. But, it just wasn't enough there. The Packers offense was on. Rams defense wasn't really on their game. That was really the difference. I think early on that Aaron Donald penalty kind of hurt them a bit. You know, they forced 3rd and 7. You know, the Packers probably still would have won the game, but that was kind of a major moment, I thought, you know, and it's just a bad penalty. Elgin Jenkins, I deserve some credit for that because he put Aaron Donald, you know, on the ground, and I think Donald was frustrated because of that and just stupid penalty. So I actually thought that was a interesting moment. A huge moment was 26 seconds left before the end of the half. The Packers get down the field and kick a field goal. The Rams actually also dropped a couple interceptions there. Maybe they weren't super easy, but 2 in a row actually, which if you get those chances against Rodgers, you kind of got to execute. But getting that field goal was a huge moment too, because they got the ball back and scored, and then it felt like a big lead, too much of a lead for the Packers. But it felt like the Rams kind of kept getting back in it. But the Packers are on another level right now. Credit to the coaching staff, credit to, everybody that we talked about, but the ability to game plan and make yourself a matchup problem. And that feels like a Super Bowl team, which I think all 4 teams left kind of do, but that alone feels fantastic for them. Not the most entertaining game here, 17-3. I just never would have guessed that. Bills take the win, though. They get the job done. The storyline of this game, I guess, was that pick 6. Because if that pick 6 didn't happen, it would have been 10-10. It would have been a whole different ball game. I know Lamar got hurt after that. We'll see. Who knows if that would have happened, but whatever. That's kind of besides the point. You know, it could have been a whole different ball game if the pick 6 didn't happen. It could have been 10-10, you know, I guess maybe 10-6. But at the end of the day, the Bills were kind of just locking things down. They continue to impress in the red zone. They're very good in the red zone since the playoffs started. And it's huge. That's absolutely huge. Yeah, so that was pretty big. Taron Johnson, I think he kind of sat where he was almost in Lamar's blind spot, like barely, and just read his eyes and jumped the route. So that was perfect. I saw a lot of people getting on Lamar for not making the tackle. I mean, he's a quarterback. You know, I think he made it's a split-second judgment. Do I go inside the block or do I go outside? He's not a guy that, you know, really should know that. I guess you could be a little smarter on that. So it was ridiculous. People were saying, that he could have made that. I mean, what are you trying to say, that he didn't? You know, I thought I don't know. It was a little ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, it could have been big, I suppose, if that's what you're trying to say. It could have been huge if he went and make tackle. Yeah, but I think people were kind of hinting at that. Yeah, he didn't want to go. I mean, it was ridiculous. I don't agree with that. We talked about it during the week. I did pick the Bills, but I said if the Ravens started with the ball and played their game, they pounded the football, ran the clock, and scored, they were in the driver's seat. And it looked like that was going to happen. It looked like that was going to happen there. It looked dominant. It didn't not just look like they were just moving the ball. They looked dominant. The way that, Gus Edwards was running, breaking tackles and pushing people forward, and they were kind of getting loose. Lamar was too, but they weren't using him all that much. It felt like, same time with dominating, it felt like they can have some things in their back pocket. They can take this lead. They can run the clock. And that would have really changed the game. And why? Because you control the clock. You get the offense off your groove. You kind of wear the defense down. But the Bills, I also mentioned during the week, there's some times where the Bills kind of start slow on offense, where it takes a few series to get in their groove, and then they start going. And there's some games where they're just going right off the bat because the offense is that good. Net explosive, but against this defense, the Ravens defense, I kind of thought, yeah, they could start slow. So if the Ravens did that, and it looked like that's what they were going to do, they decided to go away from the run at one point, and it created a bad sack. Lamar ran too far back. It was a big-time sack for the Bills, credit to them. And that just killed the drive, and then Tucker missed the kick as well. So that, there's a couple things that actually, when I slept on it more, I'm thinking about it. And the Bills earned this win. I'm impressed with their defense, but there's a couple things, that the Ravens could have done that they could have really changed the game and potentially won the game there. That first drive was key. So the Bills did start slow on offense. They were missing some throws. People were blaming the wind a lot, and the wind definitely was a factor. But I think that's more of a concern. If you're saying, well, the offense was off, they were missing throws, or the kicks were being missed because of the wind. To me, that's almost more of a problem because it's nothing new. It's not the first game played in some heavy winds, and it's not even close to the first game. And it's playoff. It's in Buffalo, especially for the Bills' sake. The Bills, we expect to be playing some important home games in the playoffs, for years to come here. So, and they're going to Arrowhead next week. There can be some wins there. Who knows what the Super Bowl will be in the future? But obviously, be Tampa. It's. All the teams remaining, in Baltimore, just to prove a point here. And if it's in Cleveland, I know those teams would be away, but wind is a factor. I know a team like Green Bay, that's a good example too. I know a team like the Packers, I don't think they would have been affected by this. I don't think they would have been affected by this one bit, really. Maybe Crosby would have missed the kick. Maybe they would have went for it. Maybe they made sure they put the ball in the end zone like they normally do. That was kind of my point. If you're following us on Twitter, I wish they would just execute on offense a little better because other teams do. So that's actually a little bit of a worry because Arrowhead could be pretty windy. Who knows? So I think there could have been a little more. Even the Bills win. I think there could have been a little more execution on offense. Sometimes it takes them a little bit to get in their groove offensively. There's zero run game, and people were complaining that, they only had like one run after like 20 plays, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't have the exact number, but probably you should run the ball a little more, but there's a reason for that. They just don't have much of a run game at all. So that could hurt them, but Diggs is phenomenal. They had a bracket on Diggs quite a bit, basically a double team, and there was times where they just had so many guys, even in zone coverage, on Diggs' side of the field where he would run his original route, in zone, and he's good at reading zone. And he's got somebody, so he tries to leak to the next area, and there's a guy there, and he tries to leak to the next area, and there's a guy there. So that actually happened quite a bit, and they were very smart, Josh Allen and Diggs, to recognize what the few times that Diggs was alone or was in the Ravens were in man coverage, which they actually ran a lot more zone than they normally do. So I credit to Martindale there. That we'll get to that. But yeah, so they did it. It just shows how good Diggs is, how good Allen is. They were able to read defenses. The other receivers, they made some big plays, but in moments like those, they got to step up a little more, I suppose. So I guess that was the reason for the 17 points. They were trying to kind of, get in that groove, and the Ravens threw some things that they at them that they normally don't throw at other teams. They're pretty much kind of the same thing every week team. We talked about that a little bit. We'll talk about more in a second, but so I guess it was a tougher challenge. I wish they can kind of just get going. It was weird though, because the defense started off so bad. Like that first drive was just so dominant, and then they really clutched up. What I like about the Bills' defense is they fly to the ball as a team. Those linebackers are good. A.J. Klein is very good, actually. It's kind of like you think, Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, people talk about those guys, and they deserve credit. They're very, very good. But how about A.J. Klein? He's been really good for them. How about the Bills' rotation? They don't have the best defensive front on paper in terms of the big names, but they got, man, that rotation across the whole defensive line is crazy good. Secondary played well. We knew that. They didn't really weren't worried about the pass. So they did a good job, just adjusting, I suppose. But the Ravens run a lot of, they blitz a lot, and they run a lot of man coverage, and they're able to do that because they have stud corners on the outside, and they got some pretty good blitzers. That's normally their game, and teams like the Bills with Josh Allen and the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, teams like that, especially they just can't beat the Chiefs over and over again. It's because they pretty much have to, they can't, their game on defense doesn't really work. Doesn't really work. So they adjusted that properly, and they played a really good game running zone, which they normally don't run that much of. So credit to them to be able to adjust. It just didn't work out. The offense has got to score more than 3 points. They got to execute on that first drive, and they can't throw that pick six there. And it could be a different ball game. So, win was definitely a factor, but I think you still got to execute a little better this time of year. The best teams will. So next week's a different week. We'll see what happens. We'll see who's playing for the Chiefs, I suppose. Speaking of the Chiefs, this game, started off not so entertaining. It ended up being pretty damn entertaining, I guess, for not the best reasons maybe. But the Browns just started picking it up. Credit to them. I actually think the Browns lost this game at the coin toss. I don't know how you defer. I really don't know how you defer. People say they lost because they couldn't stop the Chiefs at the end. I mean, that's true. But I don't know how you defer the coin toss. And I'm just talking about such a small part of it's a bigger part of the game that people would talk about though. Know your identity and know your opponent. The Browns are a team that will pound the football, open up play action pass, wear the defense out, make the offense sit on the sideline, dominate the time of possession, which is what you do to beat teams like the Chiefs. That's really your only shot, and then kind of just throw them off doing that. And you can't really do that when you want to sit on the sideline first and give the best offense in football the ball. There is a damn good chance that the Chiefs are scoring on the first possession of the game. Their center is not going to just snap the ball over the quarterback's head for a touchdown for your defense, so that was very questionable. And I think if the Browns started with, because they dug themselves a hole, and here's the other part too. Everything I said kind of going into that has to do with that. Keep Mahomes off the field as much as possible too. That kind of goes into the time of possession and keep the offense on the sideline. And you put him on the field, and he actually was off the field as much as he can be in this game because he got hurt, but actually not, because he could have been off the field more. They actually could have been off the field more time if you did what was right here. So the Browns actually could have won the game if they won the coin toss, they took the ball, and they went down there and scored. I think they would have. I think they would have to start the game, and that would have thrown the Chiefs off their groove, and they may not have scored that many points. I mean, we could play this game all day, I guess, what would have happened, but I just strongly disagree. There's some teams where I would agree, but maybe not even, I don't know, maybe not even any team against the Chiefs, maybe not even. But Brown's identity, I mean, you got to start with the ball. You got to start with the ball there. So I was shocked. I was beyond shocked about that decision, because here you are in a divisional game of the playoffs. You got to know your opponent, basically. I think the game could have been different. I could think the game could have been different there. Big play in the game was Higgins reaching for the end zone, Sorensen hitting him, and there was the whole debate about hitting him in the head. I guess I'm kind of old school, with any of the, I don't really complain about those calls, I don't really ask for those calls, even if if it's my own team, of course, I'm very, I stay the same throughout the board. If it's my own team that took a hit like that, there's no way I'm calling for a call like that. I've never once in my life, and never once will, call for something like that you didn't really earn. Like the roughing the passers. If they're like blatant and like super late and it feels like somebody's trying to hurt somebody, then maybe like, oh, I complain like, what is that? But, Higgins can't really read that. He's fumbling that ball either way. He's diving when it's pretty far out and reaching the ball. It's probably something he shouldn't have done. It was kind of just unfortunate. And people complaining about the rule, the touchback rule. That's what the rule has always been. If you change it, it's going to be, I don't know what you would change that to. I don't know how you can change it. It's not the most appealing rule, I suppose, part of football, I guess. But I don't know how you would change it. But yeah, it was the head-to-head though. If they called it, I wouldn't have complained either because it was head-to-head. It's just a situation where, the Higgins dove at pretty much the same time Sorensen dove because that's the only thing he could have done if he ran over there and kind of wrapped him up. It's kind of impossible to do that, and if he did, he's basically letting him score. So it's just so fast where it's just like, where am I going to end up? And he ends up head-to-head. So there's really nothing else he could do. But so it wasn't on purpose, but sometimes flags don't really have to be on purpose, obviously. So if they would have thrown the flag for head-to-head, it would have helped the Browns out a lot, obviously hurt the Chiefs. I wouldn't really complain about it, but if I'm the ref there, I probably don't throw the flag because that's just my style. It's got to be blatant, like bad, and that's just me. It's definitely debatable. Everyone has their preferences. So that was a big moment in the game. Really, at the end of the day, Higgins shouldn't have dove for that from that far and kept the ball that loose and fumbled it. Really, because if he would have hit him over here, he would have fumbled for sure. Still, the only thing if he wouldn't have fumbled is if he hit him in the legs. That's probably because he would have to go further distance and the ball would have been across the pylon area, so it would have been a touchdown even if he did drop the ball. So not much else Sorensen could have done. I thought Tyrann Mathieu had a really good game. The interception he had, he left his coverage to go to a different coverage and end up going into another coverage because he saw where the ball was thrown. So he pretty much was going to 3 different coverages, covering a lot of ground and just reading the field, reading the play in full speed. People don't realize how freaking hard that is, and made that play. That was a big time play there. I thought overall Baker played a pretty good game. That was a tough one, but I thought he played a pretty good game. I don't know if Chubb started to rip off some runs, but he dropped some balls. He was hesitating a lot in the backfield. There was times live where I'm just yelling at my TV, run! Like, what are you doing? Run! Like, you can't sit in the back. Kareem Hunt was better. Like, he just looked like a better running back in this game. But yeah, Mahomes goes down, and people are questioning like, how the hell did he get concussed? I played a lot. I played, and people probably can relate. I played full contact football, tackle football, and I got hit in the head a ton of times where it hurt, but I never got concussed. And then the only time I got concussed in my life playing football was actually a men's flag league after my years playing tackle football, and it was kind of a blindside hit where my neck I got whiplash basically. I think that's an easier way to actually get concussed. I think your brain actually moves. And I think that's what could have happened here because it was kind of awkward. It was just unfortunate. Obviously nothing cheap. And his neck kind of got grabbed, and it was kind of like a whiplash. But his head actually did hit the ground after looking at it a couple times before the last time he hit the ground. So who knows? So it could have been either way. I just think it's easier to get a concussion from, hits to make your, whiplash almost like. So maybe that's what happened. Hopefully Mahomes is back. I just want, I'm not a fan of any team remaining. I just want everybody at full strength just so we get, the best games possible, the proper winner maybe. I don't want people to be saying either way. I want the Chiefs to be at full strength 'cause I'll feel bad, if they lost because they weren't at full strength, but also for like the Bills' sake, if the Bills win, and Mahomes didn't play, people are going to be saying, yeah, they probably would have lost. It's going to be what if this guy didn't play? Maybe they didn't. People are going to say they didn't deserve it, even though that might not be the case. So I just want an even playing field so people aren't just talking smack, I guess. And we can just get the best football in general. But yeah, the Browns had a shot. They had a shot to do it. The Chiefs defense, I talked about it. The Chiefs defense is underrated. They're very good at, reading plays and adjusting. They're pretty flexible on defense. See how Bashaud Breeland is too. I think he's a fairly solid corner. I think he's pretty underrated, very physical. So hopefully he's okay, but they potentially can get Edwards-Helaire back, Schwartz back, Watkins back. So the Chiefs, at full strength, are much stronger than what they were in this game. I think if Mahomes didn't get hurt, they could have pulled it out even easier. But yeah, the defense really stepped up, and then they executed. Looked like they were going to go put the game away, but Henny threw a really bad interception. It's basically a punt for a touchback. He just put it up there. Here you go. So that was tough. And then it comes down to the end there. Henny has a tough run. That was big time. Was just short. That was a really good spot by the refs, because live I thought it was a first down. That's kind of tough to see. And the refs, I think, got it exactly right. So that's where you can credit them. And then the Tyreek Hill play, live, I'm saying there's no back in the backfield. There's got to be a back in the backfield, and they motioned him over, but they were still in shotgun. Shotgun's a little questionable, but that was a great play. That is a great play. That's your high percentage play there. Tyreek Hill from the slot, like, who's going to cover him in that situation? You pretty much have to guess where he's going to end up and hope that he doesn't adjust based on where you're at. That's really the only way to stop it. So that's a great play to end the game. It's kind of a gutsy call, but really it's just a great call by Andy Reid and company. So yeah, they execute. Tyreek Hill showing why speed kills, why he's one of the best players and playmakers in the NFL. Good fight by the Browns. It ended up being an entertaining game. There. Trying to think if I'm missing anything on there, any takeaways. But yeah, just the Chiefs getting healthy, mainly going forward. Browns got a bright future. They just got to start with the ball. They got to start with the ball there. It was a good game for Baker overall there. He's making some tight window throws. Yeah, impressive. Bucs and Saints, the last game of the week, ended up being a very entertaining one, 30-20. The Buccaneers second half team. What a performance in the second half. What a performance by this defense. The more and more I think about it, how about this Buccaneers defense? It makes you wonder, are they the best? Yeah, I'd say they're the best defense remaining in the playoffs. The Bills starting to heat up. The Chiefs are underrated. The Packers underrated defense, but the Bucs got to be the best. And maybe they were better than the Rams the whole time in terms of playoff defense. Because look at what this defense did. They special teams still stinks, and it was tough that Deontay Harris got hurt, one of the better returners in football. Especially punt returner. But yeah, he got them in good field position. The Bucs defense stepping up in the red zone. A trick play got them. They weren't expecting that with Jameis Winston. That was a good ball by Winston, But yeah, it kind of took putting Winston in to get something going downfield, So that's really, and they kind of, the Buccaneers kind of made stops on third down. They kind of just shot themselves in the foot away from the play. They were flags and they were right calls for the most part. But they were at the same time, they were kind of making those stops. They were kind of making the presence felt. And they were making stops in the red zone and making plays. Like, they weren't really gifted anything. They were just making really good plays on defense. They were just good defensive plays there. Those defenses would show up in the right moments, and they did. So that defense played a really good game, a ridiculous game there. But yeah, wild game at the end. The Bucs just kind of took control there, towards the end. I think the first half, I think it was tied. I know it was tied, but I think the Saints might have outplayed the Buccaneers a little bit. But the Buccaneers had some missed opportunities, on the field there at the same time. So you could say, yeah, it's tied. The Saints might have outplayed them a little bit. But the Buccaneers had some missed opportunities where they could be leading this game instead of being tied. So that's where it kind of felt like an even first half. And then the Bucs kind of took control there. But that's kind of the good thing of the Buccaneers too. They are still very sloppy with those penalties, but usually if you have 5 penalties that result in the other team getting a first down where you kind of just beat yourself there, usually you lose a game. So you had that, and then you had they had Gronk open a couple times for first try. The Saints defense played pretty well. They were kind of locked down in coverage on short routes, I thought, mainly. So I guess I was kind of getting on the Bucs where they would, third and short, they would take shots and low percentage plays. And I still don't know if I agree with the amount of times they did it. But I see why, because they were actually getting open deep. They were actually getting steps, and we talked about that during the year. The Saints defense very good, but you can kind of beat these guys deep. You can kind of get a little open, not going to get wide open. But so I kind of understand that now. The more that when I slept on, more I thought about it, because they were getting steps on them. They had Gronk open a couple times, one in the end zone. It was just kind of just off the fingertips a couple times. Plays that they usually make, throws that Brady usually makes, but it's not like a bad throw because it's right there. Godwin dropped the touchdown where he was just open. He had his guy beat pretty good. These are plays that Godwin's usually more, except for last week, more likely to make the spectacular catch than drop that. So if you think about it, with these plays that they just missed, the opportunities they just missed, and those penalties to kind of gift the Saints, given that, it is pretty crazy they won. It just shows that they're the better team, that they're a very good team that's improving every step of the way. So they really could have done even more in this game if you think about it. So they gotta cut that sloppiness out, if you want to make it the next step. Especially those penalties, just those sloppy plays. But yeah, they're a good team. They're impressive here. The Saints, it was kind of the worries that can they push the ball downfield? With Breeze and with the lack of receivers, they get Michael Thomas back, but Michael Thomas got completely shut down, 0 catches. I don't know if he wasn't full strength. There was one play where it looked like he was limping his route, nothing terrible, but he kind of was. So I'm kind of thinking he wasn't full strength. At least I kind of hope, because it was not a good game. His movement, his footwork wasn't good at the line. He couldn't get separation. He dropped a couple balls, I thought. So that really wasn't good. But I'm thinking he wasn't 100%. There was just too much, on Kamara. Kamara kind of had to carry this team. It was tough that Hill and Murray were out. He kind of had to carry the team. They had they scored 20 points. A trick play got them 7, which was a good play. But yeah, it's just they were relying on two specific things there, so it was pretty tough. And the more you think about it, the Saints offense just did not have enough here. And the Buccaneers actually played a very good defensive game. And they kind of left some plays out in the field. The Saints really can't turn the ball over that much and expect to win, but I think it was just the Buccaneers defense making plays. Winfield out there making plays. Devin White played an elite game, and this guy is an elite player in the making, just flying around the field. I mean, he bolts the plays once they're caught or ran, whatever it may be. He's the first guy there flying to the play, and that interception was great. He was kind of in a hidden spot a little bit, and he kind of left his coverage a little bit to bolt to that and make that pick and get a pretty good return. Sean Murphy Bunting, who was one of my sleepers in the draft from Central Michigan last year, I actually had a second round grade on him, but for some reason, based on the way everyone else is talking about, I didn't think he was going to go second round. The Bucs ended up taking him. He had a really good game, coming up and making plays, reading plays, tackling, and then that pick was very good as well. That was a really good play, and returning it pretty far as well. So the Buccaneers just made plays. They just made plays to win this game on both sides of the ball, but again, they could have made a little more plays on offense, plays you would have liked them to make, but the Saints defense, played a pretty good game, better than 30 points. It says, I guess, they're really tight in coverage, especially on the crucial moments, in the red zone, the smaller routes there. Very tight in coverage. I thought Malcolm Jenkins played a really good game for them. I think it's kind of just a balanced effort, though. They don't really have like an elite unit, I'd say, but because they're very, very good at everything and they're always flying the ball as a team, it feels like a team defense. I think you can debate that, maybe they had elite season at times. But that's a tough way. If Breeze ends up, it's not official yet, but we kind of know that Breeze, that's his last game. So that's kind of a tough way to go out. But I mean, a Hall of Fame career, fantastic person, fantastic player. So it was just, just watching him over the years has been great. And you see the moment that him and Brady have after the game was pretty cool with Breeze's kids. So that was pretty cool. But Tom Brady, first year in the NFC, makes an NFC championship game. So that's something. That's something. But and that kind of goes back. It wasn't really Brady though. It was kind of a collective effort, and that kind of goes back to the, in the season, people were telling me I was too high in the Bucs. Just because they got Brady, and that was my debate. I'm like, Brady definitely helps. He definitely makes them a better team, but people don't realize this team is good. Like the defense is really good. The offensive line got better. Their receiver, I could actually say that their receivers are good, but I actually could say their receiver unit is actually, it could be a little overrated actually, even though it's very good. Sometimes I say overrated and people are just like, you think it's bad? No, not even close. Overrated, good. Overrated a little bit. They don't get a whole bunch of separation. I guess they were kind of getting some steps deep. Gronk was getting some steps on them deep, kind of just missed opportunities, but they could use a guy that gets a little more separate. Tyler Johnson, he had a really good play in this game. I think they could use him a little more. He's pretty good at getting separation like that. He got separation on that back shoulder, made a great catch. I think they could use more of that back shoulder. Maybe they're saving it a little bit. I don't know. I think just a team effort. It's just a really, really, really good. I mean, the defense. Devin White to play the game. Sean Murphy Bunting was great. Winfield was good. I thought Pierre-Paul played pretty well for them. When they got pressure, that was key. It was very limited, but when they got it, it was key. Big game against the Packers. Both the Buccaneers and the Packers are a lot better than the last time they seen each other. Buccaneers had some matchup problem that they created for the Packers, and they dominated that game, but it's a whole different ball game now. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. I'm excited for both of these games. We'll be talking live about them like we do at every game on Twitter, so check us out there. And, make sure you subscribe. We're going to start with – we already have free agency coverage out and some mock drafts. We're going to be more and more as we get closer to the offseason. And in the offseason, that's all we got, insane amount. So we got you covered here. Smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. All that would be much appreciated. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.